The 1980s was agriculture's perfect storm. Desperate manufacturers pushed engineering to its limits. Electronics that farmers did not trust. Horsepower wars that nobody could afford. And a farm crisis so brutal that even brilliant machines could not survive. You're about to see 10 genius tractors that represented the future of farming, but crashed so hard they almost took their makers down with them. These are not just failures. They are spectacular disasters, wrapped in innovation. Number 10. This brings us to the Belarus 925 and 925A, Soviet engineering exported to North American farms throughout the 1980s. The idea was brutally simple. Rugged, cheap tractors that should have dominated the budget segment when farmers were desperate for affordable equipment. Rugged and cheap were the selling points. The Belarus approach was refreshingly straightforward. No electronics, no complicated hydraulics, just basic mechanical engineering that anyone could fix with simple tools. The price point was incredibly attractive during a farm crisis when every dollar mattered. The Soviet design philosophy emphasized durability through simplicity. These tractors were built to handle abuse in conditions far worse than American farms. On paper, they were perfect for cost-conscious farmers who needed basic, reliable power. Durability and simplicity were the promise, but the execution was catastrophic. Build quality was shockingly poor by Western standards. Parts literally fell off new machines. Dealer support was essentially non-existent. Good luck finding anyone who knew how to service Soviet equipment. The ergonomics were primitive, like driving agricultural punishment devices. Farmers discovered that cheap does not matter when the tractor will not start, cannot be fixed, and makes every workday miserable. Catastrophic describes the result. Word spread fast in farming communities, and the Belarus reputation became toxic. Despite the attractive price, sales collapsed. Belarus tractors became jokes in farm communities, and today they are curiosities for collectors who appreciate Soviet-era industrial artifacts rather than functional farming equipment. Toxic is how the brand was seen. The Europeans kept trying, and some brought genuinely advanced technology that American farmers refused to accept. Refused captures the final verdict from many farmers. Number 9. The Deutz-Fahr DX High Horsepower Series, the DX7 and DX8 models, from 1980 to 1988. The genius was highly advanced European electronics, exceptional cab comfort, and big horsepower. Wrapped in German engineering precision, Deutz-Fahr brought electronics and monitoring systems that were genuinely ahead of their time. The cabs were comfortable and well-designed. The power delivery was smooth and sophisticated. These tractors represented the cutting edge of European agricultural engineering, with attention to detail and technological advancement that American manufacturers were still years away from matching. The Germans had a reputation for quality engineering, and these tractors demonstrated it. This was premium machinery that should have attracted progressive, forward-thinking farmers. But they were too complex for the American market, and too expensive during the worst possible economic moment. Farmers did not trust the electronics. When sophisticated German systems failed, repair costs were astronomical. The dealer network could not support the technology. American farmers in the mid-80s were not looking for cutting-edge complexity. They wanted simple, reliable machines they could keep running while their farms hemorrhaged money. The sophistication that made these tractors impressive also made them commercial poison. Deutz-Fahr struggled badly in North America. The high horsepower series never achieved market penetration, and the brand remained marginal outside Europe. Speaking of expensive disasters during the farm crisis, one of America's legendary brands was about to learn that lesson the hardest way possible. Number 8. The Steiger Series 4, including the Panther, Bearcat, and Cougar models, from 1983 to 1985. The genius was luxury cabs, advanced hydraulics, and massive horsepower, representing the absolute peak of independent Steiger engineering before Case H absorbed them. Steiger had built its reputation on no-compromise articulated four-wheel drive tractors for serious farming operations. The Series 4 pushed that philosophy to its limit. The cabs were genuinely luxurious by 80s standards. The hydraulic systems were sophisticated and powerful. The engines delivered the horsepower that large-scale operations demanded. This was Steiger saying, "We're going to build the best articulated tractors money can buy, cost be damned." And they succeeded. These were exceptional machines, but they launched at the absolute worst moment in agricultural history. These tractors were extremely expensive when farms were failing across the Midwest. Banks were not lending. Farmers were losing their land. The customers who could afford Steiger's premium pricing were watching their neighbors go bankrupt. Even great engineering cannot overcome economics. Steiger could not survive as an independent company making high-end equipment when the market for high-end equipment essentially disappeared. Case IH acquired Steiger in 1986. The Series 4 represented the end of independent Steiger, and these specific models became symbols of ambition crushed by economic reality. But at least Steiger built machines Americans understood. One manufacturer thought farmers wanted something much stranger. Number 7 is the white 4210 and 412 Field Boss, produced from 1980 to 1983. The genius idea was massive V8 power from Caterpillar 3208 engines, packed into competitive high-horsepower designs that should have challenged Steiger and International Harvester. White went bold with the Field Boss line. The Caterpillar 3208 V8 engines delivered serious power with a distinctive sound that turned heads. The machines were designed to compete directly in the articulated four-wheel drive segment, where serious money was being made. White had manufacturing experience and dealer networks. On paper, combining proven Caterpillar power with White's capabilities made perfect sense. These tractors could pull hard, work long hours, and deliver the performance large operations demanded. But the execution had problems. The driveline and articulation joints developed a reputation for issues. The V8 configuration, while powerful, had reliability concerns that spread through farming communities, and White itself was struggling financially, which made farmers nervous about parts support and warranty coverage. When you are investing 6 figures in equipment, you need confidence. The manufacturer will still exist in 5 years. White could not provide that confidence, and the Field Boss line suffered for it. Production ended after just 3 years. The Field Boss models are remembered more for unrealized potential than agricultural success, and White's financial troubles eventually consumed the entire tractor operation. White's problems were nothing compared to what Ford was about to experience trying to compete with Deere and Case. Number 6. This brings us to Ford's 30 Series overhaul, specifically the Tiaodudu 15, Tiaodudu 25, and Tiaodudu 35, produced from 1983 through 1989. The genius was enormous power, updated drivetrains, and heavy-duty components designed to finally make Ford competitive in the high-horsepower wars. Ford was tired of being seen as the budget option. The 30 Series represented a serious investment to compete with John Deere and the emerging Case IH powerhouse. These tractors delivered real power. The TW35 pushed over 160 horsepower. The drivetrains were updated and strengthened, and the components were built heavy-duty. The Blue Force was fighting back, but the gearboxes were crude compared to the competition. The transmissions felt agricultural in the worst way, clunky and unrefined. Farmers comparing them directly to Deere's smooth shifting transmissions, or Case 1H power shifts, found Ford lacking. And the pricing was high during the crisis, when farmers were looking for either cheap utility or premium quality. Ford fell into an awkward middle ground. The competition from Deere and Case IH was simply too strong, and these Fords took a beating in the marketplace. While the 30 Series sold, it never achieved the market breakthrough Ford needed. The company eventually exited the tractor business entirely, selling to New Holland. These models symbolized Ford's last serious attempt to compete at the top. Ford at least stayed in business. The same cannot be said for what happened when Massey Ferguson tried to go big. Number 5. The Massey Ferguson 4.800 series, including the 4.840 and the 4.880, from 1978 through 1985. The genius was Cummins' big block power in rugged frames, representing Massey Ferguson's serious stab at the high horsepower four-wheel drive market. Massey Ferguson partnered with Cummins to create legitimately powerful tractors. The Cummins engines were proven, reliable, and respected in the industry. The frames were built tough to handle the power. Massey Ferguson was leveraging its global manufacturing capabilities and dealer network to compete with the American giants. These were not badge-engineered machines from another manufacturer. Massey Ferguson was building real four-wheel drive tractors with genuine capability. For a company known more for utility tractors, this was a bold strategic move into serious horsepower territory. But sales were poor from the start. Massey Ferguson's financial troubles were becoming public knowledge, and farmers were not confident the company would survive to support these expensive machines. The timing was terrible, launching during the early years of the farm crisis. Massey Ferguson's global financial collapse overshadowed everything. When headquarters is struggling, dealer networks get nervous, parts supply becomes uncertain, and farmers look elsewhere. The tractors themselves were not necessarily bad, but the company behind them was imploding. Production ended as Massey Ferguson fought for survival. The 4.800 series is largely forgotten today, a footnote in Massey Ferguson's troubled 80s history. At least Massey Ferguson was a known brand. One company thought they could sell tractors with essentially no brand recognition at all. Number 4. The Deutz-Allis 9100 series, specifically models 9190 and 9170, from 1986 to 1989. Think of it as a Euro-American Frankenstein. The genius idea was to combine Deutz air-cooled engines with electronic monitoring and proven white drive trains, essentially creating a Frankenstein super tractor built from multiple manufacturers' best components. This was engineering ambition taken to fascinating extremes. Take Deutz air-cooled engine technology, add advanced electronic monitoring systems, incorporate proven white drivetrains, and the result was a true mix of European and American engineering philosophies. The concept was genuinely innovative, cherry-picking the best technology from different sources to create superior machines. The specifications looked impressive, and the technology was advanced. On paper, these tractors should have competed with anyone. But the execution was a disaster. The dealer network was essentially non-existent, and nobody knew whether they were selling Deutz, Allis, or something else. Brand identity was pure chaos. Farmers did not want air-cooled giants regardless of engineering advantages. The complexity of integrating components from multiple manufacturers raised serious reliability questions, and the whole Deutz-Allis merger was troubled from the start, creating uncertainty that made farmers nervous about long-term support. The 9100 series died quickly. Deutz-Allis itself collapsed shortly after, absorbed into the AGCO empire, and these tractors became cautionary tales about brand confusion and over-engineering. At least Deutz-Allis was trying something new. One legendary American brand was about to kill itself trying to be too advanced. Number 3. The Allis-Chalmers 8000 series, models 8010 through 8070, from 1981 to 1985. The genius was ahead of its time. State-of-the-art ergonomics, strong engines, and a forward-thinking design from a company that had been an innovation leader for decades. Allis-Chalmers had always been the innovative underdog. The 8000 series represented their vision for modern high-horsepower farming. The ergonomics were genuinely advanced. These cabs were designed around operator comfort and efficiency in ways competitors had not fully embraced. The engines delivered reliable power. The overall design philosophy was forward-thinking, anticipating what farmers would want rather than just giving them what they had always had. For Allis-Chalmers fans, these tractors represented the brand at its innovative best. But Allis-Chalmers was going bankrupt. The farm crisis crushed them. Farmers avoided big purchases from struggling manufacturers. When you are betting your operation on expensive equipment, buying from a company that might not exist in 2 years is terrifying. The 8000 series tractors were good machines being sold by a dying company. No amount of engineering excellence could overcome the financial reality. Dealers were abandoning the brand. Parts support was becoming uncertain. The death spiral had begun. Allis-Chalmers collapsed. The 8000 series is remembered fondly by loyalists, but it symbolizes innovation killed by economics. Great tractors that deserved better than the company that built them could provide. But at least Allis-Chalmers failed with dignity. Case was about to commit engineering suicide in spectacular fashion. Number 2. The Case 94 series, including the 2094, 20294, 23 and 2594, produced from 1983 to 1985. The genius was simple to see. Digital dashboards, advanced power shift transmissions, and futuristic cabin layouts that looked like they were designed for the year 2000. Case went all in on the future. These tractors had digital displays when competitors were still using analog gauges. The power shift transmissions were sophisticated, and the cabin layout was genuinely futuristic, with controls and information systems that felt like science fiction to farmers used to mechanical simplicity. Case was making a bold statement. This is what modern farming looks like. The engineering was ambitious, the technology was cutting edge, and the design philosophy represented a complete rethinking of tractor operation. But the electronics were fragile and unreliable. Farmers watched expensive digital displays fail in dusty, vibrating environments. Case was collapsing financially during the farm crisis. Then, Case released the Magnum series, which was everything the 94 series should have been. But that actually worked. The Magnum killed the 94 series instantly and completely. It was embarrassing. Case's own next model made their flagship line obsolete. The 94 series became a symbol of reaching too far, too fast, with technology that was not ready. Production ended after just 2 years. The 94 series is remembered as Case's ambitious failure, beautiful ideas executed poorly at the worst possible moment. But if you want to see true spectacular failure, if you want to understand how one brilliant idea helped destroy an American icon, there is only one tractor that deserves the #1 spot. Number 1. The machine that symbolizes 80s agricultural ambition and disaster. better than any other is the International Harvester 2+2, the 30 and 60 series, produced from 1979 through 1984. The genius idea was a totally unique articulated tractor design that farmers called the Anteater, offering unmatched traction and visibility in a hybrid two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive configuration that had never been seen before. This was not just a failure, it was engineering brilliance launched by a company that was essentially committing corporate suicide. That tractor helped end International Harvester, and it was genuinely revolutionary. Instead of conventional articulation, International Harvester made the front wheels much smaller than the rear wheels, creating a stance that delivered incredible visibility and traction. The operator could see right in front of the tractor, virtually eliminating blind spots. The weight distribution was unusual but effective. Mechanical execution was sophisticated and complex because engineers had to make the articulated system work with radically different wheel sizes. International Harvester was not playing it safe. They were inventing an entirely new category of tractor. The 2+2 could work in conditions where conventional tractors struggled, and the design was so unusual that it looked like nothing else in the field. For the engineers, this was a moment to show the world that International Harvester still led in innovation. But many farmers took one look at the strange Anteater profile and walked away. They did not trust it because it was too unusual and too different from the conventional tractors their families had bought for generations. Pricing was high during a time when farms were failing, and International Harvester itself was in catastrophic financial collapse. The company was hemorrhaging money, fighting union battles, making disastrous strategic decisions, and alienating its dealer network. The 2+2 represented everything that went wrong in the 80s. Brilliant engineering that farmers rejected, expensive innovation during an economic crisis, and a legendary company's last, desperate attempts to prove it could still compete. When you see pictures of the 2+2 today, you are looking at the machine that symbolizes International Harvester's death. It was not the only cause. International Harvester's problems were massive and systemic. But this tractor perfectly captures the tragic combination of innovation and failure that defined the era. International Harvester collapsed, and the agricultural equipment division was sold to Tenneco, creating Case 1TH. The 2+2 became a collector's curiosity, sought after today precisely because it is so unusual and because it represents such a specific moment in agricultural history. These tractors are reminders that sometimes being too innovative and too different is just as dangerous as being behind the times. The farm crisis of the 1980s killed more than companies and tractors. It killed ambition. These 10 machines represent an industry trying to innovate its way out of economic catastrophe and discovering that great engineering could not overcome financial reality. The technology was often brilliant. The execution was sometimes flawed. But the real failure was timing, launching revolutionary machines into a market that was fighting for survival. These tractors were not wrong. They were early, maybe too early. They represent the price of innovation, the cost of ambition, and the brutal truth that in agriculture, timing matters as much as engineering.